C++ data types. What are they? Well, this question is exactly what this episode is going to be answering. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about some of the different data types we have inside C++, although we did actually talk about some of them already, for example, int and double. But before we actually continue with our lessons, I really want us to cover a couple of more of the basic ones. So let's just get started. Data types specify the size and type of information a variable will hold or stores. And there are a couple of different types of data types inside C++. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the one called integer. Yes, int number. Assign the value of maybe 300. Yes. So an integer is actually a data type that stores a whole number without any decimal. It stores numbers without any fractional part, meaning numbers without any decimal point, such as 300, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, etc. Any number without any decimal point, it's basically what an integer data type stores. So this is actually an integer. So let's go ahead and move to the second one, which is float. Yes. And this is how we actually define a float by using the float keyword. Let's go ahead and give this variable called half. And yes, let's actually give it a value of our 1.5. Yes, this is actually an example of a floating point number. Any number with any decimal point is called a floating point number. Well, float stores number with fractional part. Any number with decimal point behind it, it's actually the kind of value that float data type stores. So this is actually a floating point number, 1.5. It's of course a floating point number because it has a decimal point in it. So that's it for floats. Let's go ahead and move to the next one. The next one we have is called double. Doubles, let's actually go ahead and exemplify the double data type. We have double. And then the variable name and the actual value of the variable. Let's go ahead and give it 3.142. Yes. So this is actually double, and it basically stores floating number also. So I know you guys might be asking, okay, why should float stores a floating point number and double stores also a floating point number? And what's the differences between float and double? Well, the differences between float and double involve the range of their values and their storage requirement. So what I'm basically trying to say here is a float data type is 4 byte in size, while double is 8 byte. So I don't know, maybe that's the reason why they call it double, because it doubles the amount or it doubles the size of float. They both stores a floating point numbers, but the only differences is their sizes. Float is actually 4 byte, which is 32 bit, and double is 8 byte, which is 64 bit, because each 1 byte is actually equivalent to 8 bit. So 8 multiplied by 4 will give you 32, which means 32 bits. And 8 multiplied by 8 will of course give you 64. So this is actually the size. So it basically depends on how many digits are behind the decimal point that these two different data types will actually store. So what I mean is float is actually sufficient enough to store 6 to 7 decimal digits, while double is sufficient enough to store up to, I think, 15 decimal digits. So there's a way to actually figure out exactly how many decimal digits can float accommodate or hold, and also how many decimal digits double can actually accommodate or hold. So let me actually go ahead and show you how to figure out exactly how many decimal digit a float or double data type can actually hold. So to figure out that, we need to include the float header file library, which is this. Include, sorry, not double, float. Yes, .h, and close it. So now that we have included the float header file, we can actually figure out how many decimal digits can float or double hold or accommodate. So let's actually go ahead and see how many digits can a float data type hold, and also how many digits can a double data type hold. So let's just go ahead and say cout we're going to start with float, where we say FL. I have to make sure that this is capitalized. FLT, yes, underscore dig, which basically means digits, and then NL. Yes. So let's actually go ahead and run this program. We're going to see exactly how many decimal digit can a float accommodate. So, yep. Yes, it runs. Okay, we have it. We have 6. Well, this is actually the limitation for a float data type. It can only accommodate 6 decimal digits. So let's actually go ahead and check for double. Let's see how many decimal digits can a double data type accommodate. So we're just going to say DBL, meaning double, and run the program. Yeah, we have it. 15 decimal digits. So double is actually sufficient enough to store up to 15 decimal digits. So now you have clearly seen the differences between a float and a double data type. So if you cannot decide between the types float and double, then I suggest you use double, because it's actually the data type that stores the highest decimal digits. So that's basically it for float and double. You guys have seen the clear difference between float and double. Even though they stores the same type of value, they actually stores floating point number, but their differences is size. So this is basically the difference between a float and double. So let me go ahead and delete this line of code because it's redundant. We no longer need it. So let's remove this header file also. We just included to actually figure out exactly the amount or the limitation of our floats and double data type. So the next data type I want us to talk about is the one called character. Yes, character. So this is actually how we declare character, by using the char keyword. And then I'm going to call this one grade and assign the value of A. Yes. So this is the char data type, which basically means character. So the char data type is actually a data type that stores a single character, and the value of char is surrounded by single quote. It's actually a data type that stores a single character, such as A, B, C, D, or whatever, any single character. And char data type is actually 1 byte in size, meaning 8 bits. So this is it for char, and it only stores a single character. So let's actually go ahead and move to the next one, which is called the Boolean. Yes, this is called a Boolean. Well, Boolean is actually a data type that stores value of 2 states, either true or false, yes or no, on or off. And you know, very often in programming, there's a situation where you'll be doing something called conditional testing. You're going to be checking a condition, whether a condition is true or false. So this is actually where the idea of Boolean data types comes into place, because a Boolean data type stores only a value with 2 states, either true or false, yes or no, on or off. You know, those type of values that deals with only 2 states. So to actually declare a variable of Boolean data type, you need to specify the bool keyword first, and then I'm going to call this one condition because it deals with condition. So, and I'm going to say that the condition is true for now. Yes, bool condition equals true. And now if I were to run this variable of bool data type, I'm going to be getting 1, because true is represented by 1. You know, computers are operated in binary, either 0 or 1. So true basically means 1 and false basically means 0. So let me actually go ahead and console out this a variable of bool data type and show you guys exactly what we're going to be getting. We're not just going to be getting the true, but instead 1, because computers is operated in binary. So true represents 1 and false, it represents 0. So let's go ahead and say, okay, console out a condition. Yes, and go to the next line and L, and let's go ahead and run the program. Yes, because true is of course equal to 1. So let's actually go ahead and change it to false. false. Yes, and run the program. We're gonna be getting 0. Because as I've said, false is represented by 0. So this is actually a bool data type. It basically deals with two state values, either true or false, yes or no, on or off, and so on and so forth. So basically any value with two states is what the Boolean data type actually stores. So that's it for bool. And the last data type we're going to be talking about in this episode is the one called string. Yes, string. Well, a string data type basically stores text, a string of text, unlike the character data type here, which stores only a character, only a single character. String here stores a text. That means more than one character. So let me go ahead and give you guys an example of a string data type. So let's go ahead and say string and then call this one name. Give it a value of Namadi. Yes, because that's my name. So this is actually a string data type, a data type that stores text, such as my name here. So let me go ahead and console Namadi out. Name and L. So as I've stated in my previous episode that anytime you see this red sign below any code of yours inside Visual Studio, that means there is an error. So I have advised you guys that it's better when you see this red sign on there, any code of yours inside Visual Studio, it's better you actually stay and debug your code, meaning you check your code, figure out the mistake, or else you're going to get something called the compilation error. You're going to get an error as soon as you run your program because it has already shown you beforehand that there is an error. So what happened is to use a string data type inside C++, you also need to include the string header file inside your source code. So we can't just actually, unlike the other variables we've declared from int, float, double, char, bool, basically all of these data types can just be used as soon as you declare them. But string doesn't work this way. You need to also include the string header file in order to actually be able to use the string data type. So let's actually go ahead and include it here. Include string. And yes, we've included the string header file library into our source code. So as you can see now, as soon as we included this string header file, you will notice that the red sign below this insertion operator actually disappeared. That means we have no problem now. We can go ahead and run this program without any problem. So let's actually go ahead and run this program. We're going to be having Namadi. Yes, we have Namadi, my name. Yeah, I'm very proud of this name. Yes, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This is all I wanted to mention about the basic C++ data types. Well, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please just make sure you do that now because I would really appreciate that. So in case you're wondering what we are going to be talking about in our next episode, we're going to be talking about operators in C++. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode and see you guys in the next one.